What's going on, y'all? So in this video, we're going to continue to part three of this interview with Shawn Layden, giving some insight about the PS5 Pro and, why people wouldn't want to buy that, why it'd be harder to even sell, a PS6 Pro if they're going to try to do that, and a couple other things. So we're going to continue this interview because it's so long. I'm not going to say much here, so let's go ahead and get into it. All right, y'all, let's go.
The industry has shifted so drastically. It does leave me wondering, will anybody be happy with the next generation? Because the leap, it's going to be very hard to see. We saw it with the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Yeah.
Like that's a hard piece of technology to demo. And one of my videos was like, hey, here's how I would have cut the trailer to show the graphical difference. But even then, it's really, really hard to show the minutia of detail that they're trying to show off to an average consumer. So, and we've heard that, PS5 Pro is somewhat behind where PS4 Pro was. And I think part of that, obviously it's the price. That's a small part of it, but also it's what am I getting for my dollar? And I think that's harder to convey to the consumer. So when PS6 comes around and Xbox Series Next, whatever that is, I think it's going to be really hard to sell that to consumers. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah, because teraflops and ray tracing just doesn't make sexy ad copy.
Yep.
And most people don't understand it. And, like I say, ray tracing is great, but if your dining room window is open and any sunlight's hitting off your TV, you're not seeing your ray tracing.
Yeah. And if it hits just right, you're also dipping your frame rate down to like 20 frames per second. We spoke a little bit about this, but there have been a lot of notable departures at Sony.
Some interesting thing that I noticed is even when Shawn Layden's talking about it, he's just like, yeah, it's there, but you know what I mean? It's ray tracing, you know what I mean? And then like, that's my thing. It's like, that's how they like evolve it. But what I think is that it's overrated until it's like something that's very great with 60 frames per second and you have technology to that point. Otherwise, yeah, you're trying to sell me the system because you said it had some RDNA 3 feats, which doesn't mean it's RDNA 3 or 4, right? And then you tried to sell me PSSR, and that had issues too. So what is the point of the console if you're already dropping that and having Project Amethyst over the next year? So it's like it just made too many dumb mistakes with the Pro to like make it presentable compared to the PS4 Pro. Definitely being a $300 difference, right? And that being the original price of the PS4, whereas the PS5 Pro should have been at least the original price at $499 of the PlayStation, or been $599, but it shouldn't have been $699. There's no games around it, no nothing. You know what I mean? Everybody already has 4K. They got used to that when the Pro came around for the PS4. So it's made too many dumb mistakes with it.
Jim Ryan's out, Price, Shuhei. Are we watching the end of the era? And how do you feel about the new leadership team? Like, what challenges are they going to face? Do they have a hard road ahead?
Well, I think the road ahead is challenging for all the reasons we've been discussing on this cast until right now, Destin.
Yeah.
I think if you look at it, we got in the game business back in 94. I joined in 96. Anyway, you slice it, that's 30 years ago. So
I was 14 in 96.
Yeah, and I was 31 or something, I guess.
A couple of kids,
but add 30 years to that, and yeah, this generation
No wonder why he has that grandpa look now. He's holding up well, though.
is cycling out. I'm what you would call in the retirement window, and Shu is not a spring chicken, and Ted's been at it for a long time, and if anyone deserves his chance to sit under his tree, it's Ted Price. So, yeah, it's a natural changing of the guards, if you will.
I got to ask you about Insomniac. How did that deal come together? How did you get Spider-Man? I'm sure you've told the story, but I haven't heard it. And Insomniac, just full disclosure, they're one of my favorite developers of all time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I think their games are absolutely phenomenal from a technical perspective, from a gameplay perspective. They've really mastered the craft. So what was it like? Did you know what you got when the Insomniac came over there and then you got them Spider-Man?
Well, I've been a fan of Insomniac since they made Disruptor,
Yeah.
one of the first games they did. And then we worked together very closely on Spyro the Dragon. I was in Japan at the time, and they were localizing the content for the Japanese market. Latterly, I was in Europe, and they came out with Ratchet and Clank. We got behind that heavily. They've been an external developer partner for PlayStation for almost the entire existence of PlayStation, 25, 30 years. So working with them more deeply on whether it's another Ratchet and Clank or whether this time it was Spider-Man was for us kind of business as usual. We've been working on them forever.
Okay.
It only became different when the discussions began about would they want to be part of PlayStation Worldwide Studios. And I think for them as well, it was a good time in their evolution to get into a relationship with a strong partner that they've known for 25 years. There was no surprises in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to create, a secure environment for the future of Insomniac in a world where, getting games off the ground now is a community effort. The days of one studio showing up with an almost complete game looking for a licensing deal, that's over. You need a publishing power. You need a good developer to get into the AAA space at all. So it was the right time for PlayStation Studios. It was the right time for Insomniac.
And how did the Spider-Man deal come together?
At that time, I was still in the network business at Sony Network Entertainment. So I wasn't involved in those conversations. But as I understand it, Marvel was looking for a developer to build the next Spider-Man game.
Okay.
Movies and game tie-ins, one of the mistakes that most people made in the early 21st century is try to get a day and date. Movie and game.
Yeah.
And that never works. Never. The game is always terrible because the timelines for production are different. Greenlight in movies is you greenlight on one day and you can be a final cut in 9 months. In games, you greenlight on one day and you got to wait 3 years. So getting those two timelines to match up is frankly a fool's errand. And so after a while, I think Marvel felt that we need to build a great Spider-Man game, not connected necessarily to a movie,
Yeah.
but just
Smart.
that is true to the spirit, true to Peter Parker, true to that experience, and who we want to work with. And they were speaking with us. And, at one time, way back in the past, when we had Crash Bandicoot and
Hell's going on with
Spyro
my
the Dragon,
camera?
those are Universal properties. We built them up into very valuable things. And then they went back to Universal.
Mhm.
And people always say, why doesn't Sony do more Crash games? Well, because we don't have the rights to it.
Mhm.
But we built all that brand value. So for the longest time after that,
Yeah.
in the studio, and myself personally, very reluctant to sign licensed IP, because what I did want is to use our outreach, our brand, our power to create IP value for something somebody else's owns.
Mhm.
Don't use my platform just to make value for yourself, even though it'll be a great game, what have you. But just the energy around that, building brand value for another person, didn't seem an equitable exchange to me.
Mhm.
That's funny that he says that. Sony are the kings of doing that.
Now, welcome Spider-Man to the conversation. What I didn't know at the time was it is the most valuable superhero out there. Full stop, period.
Yeah.
Not Superman, not Batman, not Captain America, not Iron Man. Spider-Man, on a global basis, is the most valuable superhero IP across comic
Now-
books and merch and movies and everything else.
Yeah, now he is for sure. Batman used to have more value. And it's interesting what he's sharing with us about how all that actually works. How they get the Spider-Man IP. Once again, what was it like being in that position that he was in? Being the boss at that time in a Western sense, and being able to go to Japan and just seeing how everything's have been moving. It is definitely pretty interesting. And them making the right move and right deals and choosing the right developers for Spider-Man, obviously, which is Insomniac.
So I can look at that and go, well, I guess Marvel's not leveraging us for more, for more brand value.
Yeah.
They seem to have max XP across all those categories. So we'll just come together as equals. They're the best in their business and we're the best in ours. And bring that together, see if we can do something amazing. And at the time, Insomniac was open. They'd finished their most recent Ratchet and they jumped to the idea. They just love the thought of working with that character and the worlds they could create. And I would be the first to say they were incredibly successful at it.
Were you disappointed about the reflections in the puddles, or did you feel like they landed on a good spot at launch with that? Because that was a big deal online.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are a big deal online. There's a lot of stuff that's a big deal online. Yeah. The puddles were just fine.
Good, we got you on record.
Yeah.
We sort of talked about it already. Were you surprised to see that PlayStation is being a little bit more aggressive with PC? And do you think they're going to keep the gap, or do you think that it's going to get closer to day and day?
So to put clarity on this, the PC outreach was part of my business plan, a few years ago, back in probably 2017, 2018. The idea around that being that, there is a hard core class of gamers who have no interest in consoles. They have spent their time and their money building out their rig, and that's what they want to have the gaming experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that if we're also looking at taking our IP into other areas, whether film or television, that getting as much awareness about the characters and the worlds and the brands is good for the wider, IP business we're thinking about. So how do I get PC gamers to learn about my games? Because they won't come to me. I have to go to them.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go where they are. And they're on their PC. So we decided to make our games on PC. Not day and date. It's not going to compete with the uplift that the business gets every time a first-party game comes out. That's part of the compact between the hardware business and the software business, that the software business will be there to support you. But certainly after 1 year or 9 months or 10 months, the decay curve on sales is down.
Mm-hmm.
You had a couple of repromotes, maybe popped it a few times with the price drop. But it's effectively a non-performing asset anyway. So why don't we make a PC version? Not because it's a race for Money Mountain, because there's not a whole lot of money there. It's significant, but a lot. But more to the point, get people who would otherwise not see our games, get them a chance to see it. Well, then you're going to try to make them buy a PS6. Well, if you want to, please. But what I want you to do is have an understanding of our characters. So when you see them happening in a film or in a TV show or something over there, you might say, hey, yeah, that was kind of a cool game experience I had with that character in that world. Maybe I want to see more. It's just to shake the tree and get more people to see it. It wasn't a grand, how do we take over the PC business strategy?
I like that.
That's an interesting take, because a lot of people do want answers about how does Sony view the PC gaming market. Well, we saw Shawn Layden's view just now, what he just said. It wasn't to worry about losing players to PC, as he said, and Sony has said before, and it isn't so much to, hey man, now let's see if you can come go buy our console. Please buy our console. It's more like, first and foremost, let's let them see that game. And like he said, if you ain't going to come to me, I'm going to come to you. And Microsoft's doing the same thing and the same strategy. They're both doing the same thing, except they're going to PC. Microsoft's been going to PC, and now Microsoft's going to go from sharing out to PC to branching out to Nintendo and branching out to Sony as well. And I'm pretty sure Sony's going to branch out to Nintendo. It's the same thing. It's like, man, they both have Steam and Nintendo, and other people outside of Steam on PC. High number of communities. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And then he said the money isn't significant because they're not getting the sales that obviously they would, but he said it's still a good amount though. So he's kind of giving you a mix up between, we're not doing this for significant money, but it is easy profit. But at the same time, we want you to see our world and our games. You know what I mean? If that gets you to not want to wait that 1 to 2 year window, get a PlayStation. And he made it very clear too that his idea was not and is not going to be day and date. That's going to be like a 9-month or 1 year window. As I explain to people too, like the best way to do that is if you see a curve hitting and you feel like, yeah, there's not much profit, we're going to now start having to put it on sale. We got what we needed out of it. We squeezed all the juice out of it. Now put it somewhere else and revitalize that again. And that's what Microsoft's doing with their IPs on PlayStation. So you kind of see that idea, but then there's people thinking, is it ever going to be day and date? And then when you ask any PlayStation lead or former boss, they always try to tell you no. Like you do see that. So that's a big debate that's going on between the communities and other people as well. Is will Sony ever go day and date? And yeah, that topic does get pretty interesting.
More about just sharing the experience of gaming of the amazing games that PlayStation makes with more people. It's not the quote that Shuhei gave where he's like, "It's easy money," or whatever. But I'll take it. It's more play.
That's why I said too. That's where you see like Shawn Layden, like I said, he's gonna be more super PlayStation.
There is some strategy behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is. And then when you look at something like a Helldivers game, anything that is, a live action,
always online type,
online game, always online type of game, that means you have to crank the funnel open.
Mm-hmm.
And on one platform alone, it's not enough. And so PlayStation and PC to get more people into the experience is a reasonable accommodation, I think.
Yeah. Makes sense. One thing that happened under your watch that I really appreciated as a Destiny player, cross-platform play. That happened while you were there. That was a big deal for me and anybody in the Destiny community for a long time. We just wanted to play with our PlayStation friends. Like by Destiny 2, I was mainly on PC. I was mainly on PlayStation for all of Destiny 1, and I would play a little on Xbox, but we just wanted to play together. How did you sell it? Because for so long, PlayStation was really resistant to that idea.
I think as a management team, we finally got over the hill on that when we realized we're like King Canute out there at the water's edge trying to stop the tide from coming in.
Yeah.
It's coming, people. And either we just get on board with that idea or we get the undertow. So we made a decision to do it before we announced it, obviously, but we had more time after the decision was made because it's not just cross-platform. There's two other aspects. It's not just cross-play. There's two other aspects. There's cross-purchase and cross-progress, right? And so how are we going to deal with all of that? It's not just that you can play with your friends, but if you bought your hat over here, you want to wear the hat you bought in this instance of the game, which includes people on platforms where that hat is not available.
Yeah. I want my Kratos skin on my Xbox game, right. And I want my Master Chief on my PlayStation Fortnite round. Yeah.
So it took a while to work that out.
That makes sense.
And cross-purchasing too, you don't want to create a world where one platform can just arbitrage all of the DLC on this platform, all DLC is 80% off to get people to buy it over there, but forcing all the other platforms to also support that purchase. So there were a lot of business ins and outs around it that took time to nail out. But in the end, it's the right thing to do. It's the right place to be. And I'm glad we got that over the line.
Yeah, that sounds like a messy, tangled web that I would not envy anybody having to figure out from a business perspective. Like it's tricky, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think we got in the right place. You're a Destiny player. You seem to be happy with it. So
yeah. It was great. It was really, really great. Can you tell me a little bit more about your departure? It seemed like you were in your prime and then, you decided to depart. Could you tell me a little bit more about why you made that decision or how that came about?
Yeah, it was at the end of 2019, and I've been associated with the launch of at least 5 or 6 platforms for the company. If you include VR, you include the handheld platforms. We're coming into the run-up to launch PS5. And, there's a certain exhausting song and dance that goes with every platform launch. We had just delivered our big PS4 games. I think Ghost of Tsushima was just around the corner to come out. And there were some other...
That game did okay.
Yeah, I think so. And you could pet the fox.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the company was making some strategic decisions about where they wanted to take the platform in the future, with a heavy emphasis in games as service, live service gaming, subscription formulas, recurring revenue, whatnot. And that was kind of not my wheelhouse. I just make things like God of War and Spider-Man and Last of Us and Uncharted and Horizon. I didn't have the vision or the energy to try to, take it to this new area of live service gaming. So all that considered, it seemed like a good time to step down after 32 years at Sony.
Yeah.
Guys, he said that in the most smoothest way possible, but I think we get the idea. It's kind of like a discreet saying of, yeah, then you guys just decided to drive off the cliff with Jim Ryan, and I didn't have the time and energy for that, so yeah, it's time for me to step down. Man, so he basically said he left. Like, that whole situation with Jim Ryan and the live service, he was not on board with it whatsoever. He said he managed all the first party games, the experiences that you liked. Shawn Layden actually did do a good job, and when that showed up, he was like, "Yeah, good luck with that." And yeah, he was right.
It's a good run.
Yeah, I think I paid my dues at the office.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was going to step right into another gig. I was kind of looking at something, and then 6 weeks later, the world stopped.
Yeah.
And I was in COVID like everybody else, except I didn't have to work from home because I wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And after COVID came and went, I realized that probably my corporate office days are well done now. And maybe I can just use this time to work with smaller teams, work with companies that are outside the field. I do a lot of work with Girls Make Games. This is my shout out to everybody who's catching the video. Check out Girls Make Games Scholarship Fund online. We're doing a lot of good work to help young women between the ages of 8 and 16 to learn coding. And every year we're taking about 3 scholars and give them scholarships in computer science engineering. So it's a worthy cause. Please get out there for my nonprofit.
That's great.
And then I'm here talking to you. I was at DevCom in Lisbon last month, talking to developers there about how do we change the business model? How do we change the route to market? We've been making and selling games pretty much by the same pattern for the last 40 years, and it doesn't work that way anymore. Simple things like 70-30. What does that mean?
Yeah.
In a world where I don't know if you're getting 30% value from your publishing partner, to be honest. So, yeah, it's a hell of a time to be alive, and I think a lot of people are out there looking for ways to change the model, unless we all blow up into this huge, overly priced AAA space where everybody just burns down the house.
I think Xbox has been one of the leaders in terms of shaking up how things are done day and date on PC. You've been critical of Gamepass. We don't agree on that particular topic, but would you agree they're one of the first that are really doing things quite differently from how anybody else had? I understand that they're probably doing that because they're in third place, but do you think they're going to see success? Like, how do you feel about all that?
Well, I think every innovation, if you've got the gumption and the vision and the resources to try it out, please do, because we're all looking for a new model. The role of the publisher, or the role of the movie studio, or the role of the record label. These have all transformed in the last 10 to 15 years. We have more direct-to-consumer, digital outreach and ability to speak to your consumers, outside the realm of your publisher and outside the realm of your movie studio.
Yeah.
So the relationship between the creator and the player, I think, gets closer now. And how do we continue to abet that and help that relationship grow, rather than keep trying to keep things into here's a developer, here's a publisher, here's a market kind of thing. Xbox is trying new stuff. Yes, you and I are not in agreement about the efficacy of Gamepass.
And to be clear, you think it's a non-starter. It's not profitable enough to work from a financial perspective, right?
Yeah. It doesn't math out. And people say, yeah, but Microsoft makes money. The platform, like the casino, will always make money. The house always wins.
Mm-hmm.
But I see these subscription platforms only for putting games on an all-you-can-eat sort of surface. I don't think it does well for the developer. I think most game developers who are really in it to win it are not looking at having the development costs covered, because that's just wages, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pay me so much an hour and I build you a game and it's all yours and I walk away from it. Real developers want to be able to get into overages, get into profit sharing, shoot the moon, try to make the big nut. And the pennies you get off of a subscription platform is not going to get you there. Ask any of your musician friends. How many people bought a Ferrari with their Spotify check? Nobody.
No, I mean, he's right for that
So
sense.
those models don't necessarily work well, I believe, for the game developers. For the platforms, yeah, you can make it work at the platform level.
Shawn Layden's right about that if you look at it in that sense, but because Microsoft has so much money, they can pay for people's bonuses and in any other aspects they would get. And they would, like, you would know, because it's like some games, if they're not even on there, they're not going to even sell that much, you could tell. And then if you got paid more money than what you would have sold, it's fine. That's kind of the point of it being promoted more than anything with the in-house first party. Now, third party, if you see some games get on there, man, I've known they probably throw people 70, 80 million checks just to get it on there, and they never would have had that type of money. I get what he's saying, though, but I just think that from that point of view, it's just good to benefit the gamer if you can, because it's still a pro-consumer model, but is it best for developers making maximum efficiency, trying to shoot for the moon, saying, I'm dominating the industry? Well, no, of course not. There will be a cap on that, and I get what he's saying. So yeah, we keep it real over here. That's a really good amount of information that we just got here. And wow, what a way to end it on what he just said. That's some interesting stuff right there. So let me know what y'all think about that. We have a lot of answers in this video, and this is a really good one. And if there is some more information, which I haven't seen past this, I'm kind of just doing this on the fly. I will make a fourth one. So yeah, let me know what y'all think. All right, y'all. Peace out. Have a great day. Good video here.